Thank you for waiting around. We'll start off with the presentation. As you know that in the budget consultations, apart from hearing from you about your contribution, what you think you would like addressed in the budget, what are some of the issues you think needs to be addressed, we also see this as an opportunity for us to be able to provide to you some information regarding the process of the budget. What do we actually do? When we actually develop a budget, what are the things we take into consideration? But in order for us to be able to do that, we also need to be mindful of where the budget is at the moment. What's the state of the economy? How is the economy doing? When we spend the budget, what percentage of money goes towards which areas? So this is what we want to do, to be able to provide to you that type of information today, and then keep it at a very informal basis so we can interact with each other and give you, your suggestions. I know there are some people who come to these consultations because they have some personal problems, personal issues they want to raise. Those you can do, we've got staff at the back. You can tell them what the issues are. Please leave your phone contact details, etc., so they can get back to you. So we'll start off with the first slide. Normally we talk about how is the economy growing, and as you know, Ba of course has been hit by cyclones and flooding. We go back as far as say 2008 and looking at the economic growth in Fiji. So the economy is growing by 1%. We had the cyclone Mekia, went down by 1.4, and since then it's been growing every year. Over here, we have Cyclone Winston was in 2016, and I'll talk to you later as to what a cyclone actually does to the economy too. In 2017, we're expecting the economy to grow by 3.6%, and following year 3% or thereabouts. The good news is that the economy, as you can see, is growing every year. So this is only the second time in Fiji that we have 7 years of economic growth. Next slide, please. Now, how does the economy grow? We need to know which are the areas in the economy or the sectors in the economy that contributes to the economy to grow. So, for example, we can see over here, agriculture contributes 0.31%, fish, forestry, then of course manufacturing. This also includes sugar in terms of manufacturing and other manufacturing, construction industry, mining, electricity and water, 0.1%. And then of course the financial services, transport, retail sector, wholesale, accommodation, information, public administration. These are the areas that actually are contributing to the economy. So for any government, what we want to do is we have to make sure that we're not reliant only on one sector to grow the economy. Because if something happens here, then the entire economy can come down. So in the same way, to give you a simple example, as you know that tourism contributes a lot towards our wealth, our GDP. But if all your tourists come from only one or two countries, and if there is the economy does not do well in those one or two countries, it will really affect us. So that's what we need to spread our risk. At the moment, 51% of all the tourism arrivals in Fiji come from Australia. 15% comes from New Zealand. So about 67-68% of the entire tourism arrivals into Fiji, they all come from Australia and New Zealand. So if the economy does not do well there, less tourists will come from there, and we have a greater risk. So this is why we want more tourists to come from China, from India, and various other countries so we can spread the risk. So what are the things that's been happening, what we call the investment indicators? The value of the building permits issued from January to September 2016 has gone up by 12.7%. The value of work in place, in other words, the construction works, has gone up by 10.5%. Domestic cement sales has gone up by 11.1%. This is from January to September 2016. Now, why do we measure cement sales? Because normally people buy cement to build. You don't buy cement to keep. You buy cement to build. So that means that people are investing more money. That means people are constructing. And construction is a very important sign in the economy, because when you construct something, even if you're building one bedroom, you need somebody to dig the foundation, you need somebody to lay the bricks, you need somebody to do the plaster, you need somebody to do the plumbing, you need somebody to do the wiring. All of those things, they all contribute to the economy, because it puts puts money in people's pockets. Of course, government has been spending a lot of money too in capital works. These are some of the areas where there's been a decrease, a new investment lending for real estate, lending for building construction. This is between January and September 2016. But this figure will change, because a lot of people, a lot of schools are now being built, and that figures as far as construction will increase. Consumption, many people will tell you in Fiji there are lots of cars in Fiji now. Because we reduced the duty. Nearly everybody now wants to own a car. It's becoming more affordable. The number of new vehicle registration went up by 27%. Second-hand vehicle registration went up by 7.8%, which is good, because we want more new vehicles bought as opposed to second-hand vehicles being bought. New lending to wholesale, retail and trade went up by 13.2%. Import of consumption goods went up by 14%. A lot of the things that you and I consume, that we wear, that we eat, comes from overseas. So when the economy is doing well, you'll find that a lot of things are imported from overseas. So, if people have more money in their pockets, they probably buy the second pair of shoes. The shoes that you're wearing, the bracelet that the lady is wearing, could be made overseas. The clothes that you're wearing could be made in overseas. So that's a sign of what happens when the economy is growing. New job advertisements. This is a sign that there are more jobs being created, and the Reserve Bank of Fiji actually does this assessment. So they assess how many job advertisements are coming in the papers. Personal remittances has gone up by 5%. This is money that's being sent to people in Fiji from overseas. So you may have your relatives, your friends who send you money from overseas. We have rugby players that play in Japan, France, and various other places. They send money overseas. We have people in the Middle East. We have people working who are soldiers there. They send money overseas. They are nurses in UAE, United Arab Emirates, Australia, New Zealand, West Coast of North America. They all send money. So this is all increased as far as consumption is concerned, and the money is coming in is concerned. And VAT, of course, has also gone up, even though the VAT has decreased in the percentage. Next one, please. Again, this shows retail sales. So the Reserve Bank of Fiji measures, the shops that you go to. They see whether the sales have increased or decreased. And generally, why we measure this is because we want to see how confident people are in terms of their spending. Normally, when you feel good, when you have money in your pocket, you feel good about the economy, you feel good about the country, you'll go and spend more money. When people feel that things aren't very good, they'll put the money in their pocket and they save it, for the rainy day. Or they think that things aren't very good, so they don't spend. As you can see, that the retail sales has gone up quite significantly, except it dropped here in 2016. And of course, the reason why it dropped was because we had Cyclone Winston. The moment that people, when there's a cyclone, those types of things happen, that people actually hold back the money. They don't want to spend because they use that money to spend in other areas, not for retail, not for shops, everyday consumption. Next one, please. This again shows vehicle registration. You can see how the new vehicles are just coming up. Sales of vehicles are coming up quite significantly. In 2016, you had 4,920 new vehicles and 10,152 second-hand vehicles. Still, second-hand vehicles are one of the largest compared to new vehicles. Inflation. Okay, inflation is very important. That's the price of goods, how much it's going up by. You can see inflation has been generally quite steady over here from this period, but it shot up here. because of Cyclone Winston. Those of you who know that after Winston, the price of Yangona went up, kava, $90 a kilo, $100 a kilo. The price of your beans went up. Bundled beans used to cost $5 in some places. In Suva, it was costing $5. Now it's kind of steadied. Price of vegetables went down, naturally because there was less vegetables available. So when you have less vegetables in the market, but more people wanting it, the price will always come up. When there are more farmers now growing and the land is much better, then of course there's more supply, so the price equalizes. So this is why you see inflation went up. So till today, for example, Yangona is still very expensive, kava. But what, $90 a kilo? $120 in bar, there you go. $120. But people who drink Yangona will still buy it. They'll still buy it. So this is a fact. For some people, Yangona is part of their every week expenditure. So that's how they measure it. So that we expect to be slightly high because of the fact of Yangona and a couple other things. But once it stabilizes, then you'll see the inflation coming back down, but we expect it to come down to about 3% next year. No, actually following this year. Foreign reserves. This is very important too. Foreign reserves, the reason why we look at foreign reserves. See, when we buy things from overseas, you see this watch that I'm wearing, the shoes that I'm wearing, the shirt, this watch that this lady is wearing, the handbag that she has, none of this is made in Fiji. This handbag that she's got is not made in Fiji. It comes from overseas. So when they sell the handbag to Fiji, it's sold in foreign dollars. So you must have enough foreign dollars in the country to be able to buy that. That's what you call foreign reserves. How much foreign reserves you have in the country. Now, the international benchmark is that you should always have enough foreign reserves to pay for 4 months worth of export, or import, sorry. 4 months worth. That's always a good benchmark. You can see in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, we're well below this benchmark. Started going up. So from 2011, it's been going up significantly. So today, we have 5.2 months worth of foreign reserves, which is a good position to be in. Normally, they expect you to be here, at least. But we have 5.2 months worth. So when international banks look at Fiji, that's one of the first things they look to see whether you're living within your means or not. And that's one of the things that we've been trying to do as a government. We want to live within our means. We have to get everybody to live within their means. Next one, please. Okay, fiscal deficit. What does this mean? You know, every year when we stand up and we deliver the budget, we will tell you how much money we're going to collect, because we collect money too. When you pay your police fine, when you pay your tax, when you pay your duty, when you go and buy your, you have a business license, whatever type of license, all that money goes to government. When you pay the fine to LTA. When you, for example, want to go and pay for a building permit, town and country application, all of that is government revenue. Normally, since independence, we've always collected less than what we spent. Right from 1970s, except for 2 years, when there was a surplus because of some sale that they had done. So you can see that in 2000, the deficit was 3.4. 2001 went to 6.2. It's very high. 2002, 5.3. 2003, 5.8. 4 went to 3.1, 3.3, 2.9. 2007, we brought the deficit down to 2.1. In 2008, we had a surplus. In other words, we spent less than what we collected. Since then, our objective has been to reduce the deficit. You see, it's been going down. But then it suddenly went up. Then it's gone up again. These two times is when we had cyclones over here. You see Winston. Why have we got 4.7 is because in this financial year, we are spending quite a lot of money. We're spending $135 million just to rebuild the schools. We're giving a lot more money for roads to build the broken bridges. We're giving more money to farmers to be able to rehabilitate their crops. So it's not the ideal situation, but it is necessary to ensure that we inject money into the economy to help recover from the cyclone. That's why you have this 4.7% here, deficit. Total revenue, this is how much money we're collecting, government. How much revenue we get. You see, in 2004, government collected $1.1 billion. Today, in less than about 12 years' time, we are collecting $3.1 billion. So we've nearly tripled the amount of money we collect now. And the way we've done that, two reasons. One of them, we've cut back our expenditure. But we've also been smarter, expenditure, I'll get back into it, but we've also been smarter in respect of how we are collecting money. And which is a good position to be in. Now, before we go to the next slide, so normally when we collect this money, then we spend this money. You know, it's like you earning wages. You earn wages, you bring your wages home, then you have to buy your groceries, you have to pay for your water, electricity, whatever the case is. And then hopefully you get a surplus. In government's case, we have turned things around, and if you get on to the next slide. Sorry, before we do that, okay, this is how we collect our revenue. Direct tax contributes 21% towards the collections we have. In other words, direct taxes are like PAYE is like corporate tax. That's your direct taxes. And then you have your value added tax, contributes 30%, VAT, what we call VAT, customs tariff, 21%, service turnover tax. This is for when you go and stay at a hotel. We now have a service turnover tax for hotels. If somebody goes and stays at a hotel, they pay an additional tax. That's how we collect revenue. We have departure tax. When you leave Fiji, when tourists come to Fiji, they pay $200 departure tax. This is the money that we get to give free education. This is the money that we get to give subsidized water, subsidized electricity, free medicine. We spend $21 million a year paying for school bus. Government pays directly to the bus companies, $21 million a year. Because we've started this bus fare subsidy. Of course, fees and charges and stamp duty. Next one. Now our expenditure. This is the amount of money we spend for infrastructure development, in other words, roads, water, electricity, health, education, access to justice, social protection, which is your welfare. Some people get welfare allowance. As you know now that we give $50 a month to people who are over the age of 66, like pension. We also pay people with disabilities. We give them money. We pay for children who are abandoned. We give them money also, people who are looking after them. That's all social protection. So you can see in 2004, only $1.3 billion was spent in that area. We're now spending $3.6 billion for water, road, electricity, health, education, access to justice, like legal aid and social protection. About 34% of the GDP. We can go to the next one. Okay, this is important. This is what I wanted to tell you about before. See, there are two types of expenses we have. One is what you call the operating expenditure. The other one is what you call your capital expenditure. Operating is where you need money to basically run government. The civil servants who are here, we've hired these mics and speakers and all of that. That's your operating expenditure. The motor vehicle, the fuel, the toilet paper for the office, the photocopying paper, all of that, wages and salaries, that's your operating expenditure. The other expenditure is your capital expenditure, the money that you spend to build things. Right? So, we build schools, road, hospital, health centers, whatever the case may be. That's your assets. So it's always very important that the amount of money that we spend, a good percentage of it must go into asset building. It's like you. If you go and borrow money to go and have a big party at McDonald's, you'll eat the food at McDonald's, you'll finish, but you still have the debt. You got nothing to show for it. Right? But if you go and borrow money and build another additional bedroom to your house, or you buy your car, you've got something to show for the debt. In 2004, 83% of whatever government spent was on operating expenditure. So the following year, they had nothing to show for it. They spent only 17% of that money in capital expenditure. You look at what we are doing today. Today, 40% of what we spend is gone into building things. So in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, that is still there. And because we've increased our revenue collection, because in the previous slide I showed you, just go back to the slide about $3 billion. Because we've increased our revenue collection now, go back to the next one, all of this money is used to pay for our operating expenditure. In other words, we don't borrow money to pay for operating expenditure. We only borrow money to build things, which is again a good thing. It's the example about the McDonald's and the house. We only are borrowing money to build things. So we're borrowing money to put new electricity cables. We're borrowing money to build new roads, new bridges. But to pay for your day-to-day expenses, we are paying it from the revenue that we make. As you can see, the funding for the roads has increased quite significantly. 2004 it was 55 million, today is 527 million. But of course, that does not only include roads, it includes bridges, jetties, and the drainage system that goes with it. Next one, please. Again, water and energy. As you know, before, those of you who were in the rural areas, for you to be able to get access to electricity, you had to pay a 10% contribution. Then it was reduced to 5%. Today, you don't have to make any contribution. The rural electrification program now is for free. And we have a program, it's a very escalated program, and we're putting a lot of money in that. Similarly with water, areas that don't have, the water pipes going to it, we are giving water tanks. We recognize the fact that because of climate change, there's a lot of water issues too. I know that in the past few years, in particular in Ba, Tavua, Rakiraki, and also in some parts of Nanronga, there's a water shortage, big problem with water shortage. So we have a huge focus on that to bring more water tanks, and we hope to have that extended even more. We also have a free water scheme now. Wherever you have water taps, through the Water Authority Fiji system, if you earn less than $30,000, we give you free water up to 90,000 liters of water a year. Again, the funding for education. As you know, schools now are all free. You don't have to pay school fees for your children right up to year 13. We also have now the scholarship. Scholarships are given to people on merit. We don't give scholarships for people to, for example, become lawyers because we've got too many lawyers. We want to give scholarships for people to become doctors, nurses, engineers, marine scientists, foresters, town planners, surveyors, all those areas where we have shortage of skill sets. They're the areas we give scholarships in. But of course, if your child or your grandchild does not get a scholarship but gets a place in university but they can't pay for it, we pay for it too now. We pay the fees. And it's by way of a loan. The maximum interest payable is only 1.5%, and they only pay it once they start working. And it's taken off slowly. from the salaries done by FERCA. Health, again, we've increased the funding for health, as you can see, is steadily increased. It's now $244 million a year for health. Next, please. Again, government debt. As you can see, that government debt in respect to as a percentage of your GDP has been decreasing quite significantly. Only this year it's gone up slightly because of the huge rebuild for Cyclone Winston. Next one, please. So what the summary is that the economy is growing quite fast. It's accelerated to 3.6%. There is a favorable, what they call favorable growth prospects, increased private sector investment. We're getting a broad-based economic growth in different areas. We are managing the money really well, and we intend to do it even better. There are, of course, some areas that we need to improve on. Some of the ministries are doing a lot better than other ministries. We are spending a lot more in building things, in asset development. The foreign reserves are comfortable. And we expect inflation, as I was saying, with the effects of Cyclone Winston going away, we expect inflation to also stabilize to about below 3% in the next year or so. So, ladies and gentlemen, in summary, this is a snapshot of the economy. And what we also were doing is, as you know, that we had public consultations this morning in Lautoka. We had public consultations on Friday with the Disabled Association in Suva, the Central Division, and one in the Western Division on Wednesday. There have been some very good ideas. People have made some suggestions. Some of the problems have been specific to that town. So, for example, in Lautoka, one gentleman stood up and said, there's too much traffic in Lautoka now. We get traffic jams. Please try and solve that. We can try, but things like, having a more public car parking area. But the problem is that a lot of the roads that we have now was built 50, 60 years ago. And I don't think those people ever thought that Fiji would have so much traffic. So we have to be able to ensure that we need to do some long-term planning. We're at the moment looking at getting some foreign advice in respect of, countries like Singapore that do very good urban planning, to be able to put in place a blueprint. But the other suggestions were made, like just to capture what was said today. People talked a lot about litter. There's too much, people throwing too much rubbish. What can we do about that? There were other suggestions in respect of, there's a lady who came from Tavua saying that, can you give more assistance to disabled people? Her husband is a disabled person. She did not know that we just gave $10,000 to the Western Disabled Association. So she was not aware of that. So in that way also through these consultations, people get to know what's happening in their own region too. So please feel free, if you want to ask any questions, don't hesitate. If you want to ask in the vernacular language, you can do so. Somebody will translate. And we want you to, feel free. If you want to make any contributions. Like I said, if you have any specific problems relating to you, we had people who came and said they got some land problem because of some brother-sister dispute. Please go back and give your details to them. But just understand one thing, if you have a dispute with your brother or your sister and you're fighting each other, government really can't do anything about it. It's a personal matter. Somebody says, oh, my father willed the house to my sister when I should have got it. I can't interfere with that. I don't have the legal authority. The brother will chase me away because I don't have the authority to do that. But if you have issues with the land department, TLTB, I know a lot of people have issues, welfare department, if people aren't listening, please go to the back and give your name and your problem to them and your contact number, and we'll certainly follow up with that. So I'll now open up the floor for people who want to make any suggestions. Thank you. I've got somebody with a mic and they'll come and talk to you about it. Thank you.
Bulabanaka Minister, thank you for your time to come down to the West. I know you are a very busy man, but anyway, we thank you for your contributions. I am from Ra, and I want to raise this up, Mr. Minister, about our mill in Penang. I'm not very happy when the chief executive tried to close down the mill. This time I want to come here not to close up the mill, to live this our economy in the Western side in Ra. I need to upgrade when I said that the machines should be upgraded, and also to go down to the farmers. If the government provide the machinery like tractor, they can contribute more cane farmers from the Western, from the outside. And also in overseas, the people today, they raise a lot of money because the machine they use. And I need that, Mr. Minister, if you can look at to give us a machine. Now I just been to the Fiji Corporation. I'm doing also sugar export. My company are just ready next week to export 20 tons of sugar to Vanuatu. So that's why I don't want to close down the mill in Penang. Second point, Minister, about the bridge from Ra that going up to our village up in the mountain from Bure level and Namara. I want that bridge to be fixed properly. Nowadays, most of the trucks, they're going up to the village, they don't cross over because only they bury down with the stones. And I need that if the budget can go to build a good bridge to bring our markets to sell in Lautoka and Ba. Third point I want to raise, Minister, about the budget from Monosavu. It's a long time we don't receive any funds. And I want if you can be able to look after that, because the last instance, a lot of our houses has been damaged until today. And I want that budget also to be raised for the next time. Thank you, Minister. Thank you for your time here in the Western.
Look, there's no doubt that the sugarcane industry, if the leaders at that time, 20, 30, 40 years ago, had the vision to do very simple things like mechanizing the sugarcane industry, we would be in a completely better space today. You can go overseas and find farms, for example, in Queensland, you have only 2 people planting hundreds of acres of farmland for sugarcane, because the entire thing is mechanized. They go really high tech. They have, for example, what you call time feeders. They don't manually do it. It's all done by mechanical and technology. Things open up at a certain time, the fertilizer comes out, things open up at a certain time, the water comes out, and only 2 people are running the farm. That's the real high-end tech side of things. But of course, if you read today's Fiji Sun, you would have seen that there's an advertisement that's been put out by the Ministry of Sugar calling for expression of interest from farmers who want to get access to cane harvesters. And government has obviously set aside money for that. And government is already talking to a number of farmer cooperatives who wish to access cane harvesters. And they can come as a cooperative, get cane harvesters, which will reduce the need to have manual labor to cut cane. So yes, mechanization is the way forward, and that's what government intends to do, and there'll be a lot more things happening in the next 12 months or so. Regarding Penang Mill, I think you need to think outside the box. You see, you have to understand modern day economics. You don't simply have the mill open for the sake of the mill being open or just because the mill used to be there. You need to look at the volume output, a volume input and the volume output. At the end of the day, what really should matter to the farmer is the price and the reduction of cost for them to take that cane to the mill. If the reduction of cost for freight and cartage is going to be reduced, it really should not matter where the cane is going. So it's more of a political thing what you're saying to me. We need to take politics out of sugar, as the Honorable Prime Minister has said. So it's not a question of get Penang Mill up and running and things will be hunky-dory. No, it won't be. Because you have to be able to ensure most of these mills around, they should have been upgraded 40 years ago. They haven't been upgraded. So isn't it better to invest in far less mills but give it the new technology so you get the best extraction out for your sugarcane, get a better price for the farmers, than to try and run mills that are inefficient. That's how you got to look at it. So you got to start thinking outside the box in respect of how we deal with mills. And that's precisely what the CEO for FSC was alluding to. At the end of the day, if the farmer is getting a better price, if the reduction of the cartage fee for the farmer is being reduced, it does not matter whether the cane is being crushed in Penang or whether it's being crushed in Ravi Ravi. It does not matter. What matters is how much money is going to the farmer's pocket. And that's what we should be focused on. That's what we all should be focused on. How to improve the efficiencies. How to, for example, get more cane on the railway system than to have more cane on the lorry system, because the lorry system is more expensive. So we need to improve the cartage on the railway tracks. If you do that, you're able to reduce the cost to the farmer also. But in respect of the mechanization of the farming sector, yes, sugarcane sector, most definitely. In respect of the bridge, please give the details at the back. They'll take down the details exactly where they are. In respect of the Help for Homes initiative, we've already spent $108 million. It's unprecedented. $108 million has been given through the Help for Homes initiative. No government has ever done that. And let me also tell you, in the previous governments from 1970 onwards until the Benny Marama government came in, when people used to build homes before, it was only on an ethnic basis. Homes weren't built or assistance weren't given to Indo-Fijians before. It's a fact. Prime Minister Benny Marama came and changed that. He said it should not matter on the basis of ethnicity. Ethnicity does not matter. Whoever has the need will get the assistance. So that is very, very important for us to be able to understand that these are the kind of changes that have taken place. But this level of assistance that has been given is unprecedented, and we're looking at how else that we can help other people who have suffered from cyclone. Okay, any other? Thank you. Give me a mic.
First of all, I would like to thank the Minister for Economy and the government to bring the consultation process to the people. It is very, very important that consultation takes amongst the people. It's very, very important. So that you can get the feedback. In the last budget, a lot of money was spent on education, health, and roading and sugar farms. A lot of money was spent. I hope this year it will not decrease. This will not decrease on these major areas. Only one thing I want to tell, one very, very excellent thing the government has done is a loan scheme. Loan scheme. I can recall my teacher, and also he was a parliamentarian, Honorable Mr. Pratap Chand. He told us that one day we want to see all the Scotta family, every Scotta family, one child or two children become teachers and nurses. Now, I can see that. People in the Scottas, because of the government loan scheme, they are teachers, they are nurses, they are doctors, they are policemen. Because before, after passing Form 7, they were staying at home. Just beside our minister, one of the honorable minister's home, all the Scotta families are living there, and they are teachers and they are nurses. It is very, very fruitful. I hope, I also thank our Minister for Education. He has done a very thorough job. He's done a very thorough job. Only one thing I want to tell you, that people who have taken the loan are not paying back. They have become teachers and nurses. But payment system is very, very weak. I don't know how they are not paying. It will be easy if the Ministry of Education is informed by memorandum to ask all the new teachers who are in the schools to get the list and send it to test so that they can collect, so that this process goes ongoing. Say on the agriculture sector, I must tell you, we must spend a lot of money on that because agriculture sector is moving at a snail's pace, very, very slowly. Very, very slowly. So, before, they should not spend their time in the office, but they must go to the farmers, go to the rural areas, go to the people. people also. Even the town people also, they should go Brandolis, they should go Venga town people. Before the people used to decorate the homes with the small stones, big stones, square stones, and paint it. They should motivate now the people in the town to decorate the homes with planting bagels around the compound and chilies and all those things. So government needs to spend a lot of money on that to help so that our economy will also improve. On that. I also want to, roading problem, say we are spending a lot of money on the roading problem, Fiji road authority. Every day I see Higgins running up and down the Kolta road. No, they should go inside. Bukia and all those places. During election I went to campaign at one place. There was no road there. Inside Bukia, left hand side. Go right inside, 3 miles. No road there. People, they have the food, lot of food there, but no road there. So these people should have access to roads so that they can bring their goods to the market. Say, I must also thank you that government is giving help on the small scale farms and business. It is very, very important. Very, very important. Very, very important because the poor people who cannot get the loan, they can come up. They can come up by starting a small business, by having fowls, goats, and ducks, and all those things. All those things. You know, one of the honorable minister's husband, she had on 6 layer beds in our place. And that 6 layer beds were giving 12 eggs a day. 6 in the morning, 6 in the daytime, 6 in the night.
Can I ask you to just raise some issues, because there obviously might be other people wanting to speak too. What are some of the key issues you'd like to highlight?
These are small scale farming. People should be helped on this issue. Small scale farming, government is helping. They should be helped more so that they should come up. So sugar industry, government is helping on that, but sugar industry to survive, we are facing difficulty with the harvesting. They are very, very important. They are helped and with the help. Natural disasters, say, I want to tell you one thing. Every budget must pump some money in the reserve for the national disaster. Not only wait for the disaster and ask for the help. We must have a relief fund, and every budget should pump some money in that fund and prepare ahead for that national disaster to come. See? And that will be, in time to come, we'll have millions of dollars in that. So if anything happens, we can help the people. I must also thank the government that they have made a very good houses, and help the people to make very good houses, all in Tawega area and all those areas. I also want to tell you, say, but many people have been Bitibanwa, Nasiani, and Nanaro, and Rambulu, they did not get the card. They are still waiting. For the card. So they have not made the house. They are living in the tent. Bitibanwa especially I have seen. People haven't got the card. And government also should have budget for the construction industry. You can see this after the Western, we are not getting timber supplies. We can't get the roofing iron. We can't get the cement. Government should motivate the people to make another cement factory somewhere. So there is not shortage of cement supplies in Fiji. On tax, how the government will get the revenue, of course, the VAT is there, and normal tax is there, and export and import tax is there, and government can take it, get the collection from there, I also like to thank, that now, through the government help, government is helping on the bus fares. Please do not decrease the bus fare, because students are helped a lot. People are helped a lot, and I thank very much government to have the budget allocation for that bus fare, so that parents do not suffer. I must thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think just in respect of things like the reserve for cyclones, tropical disasters, we actually set aside $5 million this year in the last budget. But of course, as we know, $5 million was not enough. But the Ministry of Natural Disaster Management does have its own allocation. And predominantly that allocation is for things like food rations. As you know, when the cyclone comes, people start immediately needing food. So we need to have money to buy that food. So we have an allocation every year in the budget for Ministry of Natural Disaster Management. But we have also parked $5 million within what we call Head 50, within the Ministry of Economy as a reserve. You see, because when you have what we call a deficit budget is when you are spending more than what you actually collect. You can't take money and park it there. You can't borrow money and then put it in the reserve there. You understand? It doesn't make sense. If I want to borrow at 5% and park it there and I get 2%, I'm making a loss of 3%. Normally you can park money when you have surplus. It's like when you go and spend your money, at the end of the day you've got your wages and you spend your money, and then people say, okay, I set aside $10 in my savings. That $10 in savings is your money that you're setting aside. If I'm going to run a budget deficit and I get that money, I borrow it from World Bank or whoever it is, or any other organization, then I keep it aside, and the interest rate is high, and the interest rate that I get for that money is low. It does not make sense. I'd rather borrow it only when I need it. You understand what I'm saying? So these are the things we have to consider, but we have in the budget allocated every year about $5 million for that particular purpose. There are other ways of doing it. I mean, one of the ways, when Cyclone Winston came, 9,000 kilometers of electrical cables fell down. 9,000. That's a lot of cables. So to build it, obviously, not just takes time, but it means if we build it up, and if, God forbid, there's another cyclone next month, it can all fall back down again. We have to build again. When another cyclone comes, it falls down again, we build again. So you're kind of wasting money. But in order to solve the problem, what some countries have done, they put the electrical cables in the ground, right? Underground cables. So those of you who've been to Nandi now, you see the 4-laning road we've done outside Nandi Airport going towards Namaka. There's nothing on top, only the street light. Everything is under the ground. So next time when there's a cyclone in Nandi, the electricity will still be flowing through. But to do underground cabling costs a lot of money upfront. So what we know when we talk about climate resilience, economic resilience, that's what it means. That you're resilient, you're strong enough to be able to withstand these kind of damages or these kind of natural disasters. So you need a lot of paisa to put the electrical cable under the ground. So we have to sometimes weigh. You can't put every single electrical cable underground, which costs a lot of money. Because if you put every single electrical cable underground, it may mean we have to take some money from the sugarcane industry, or take it from the health, or take it from the roads. So budget is all about balancing priorities. It's about balancing, getting the best deal, making sure the best opportunities come out for everybody overall. So, like this gentleman, he's talking about Monosavu. When they built the dam in Monosavu, the people who own the land in that area, who leased the land, they did not get electricity. The people in the towns and cities got the electricity. They used to just watch the electrical cable go over their heads. We put the electricity in that area. Those villages now have electricity. So you see, if they had electricity from the beginning, they could have been able to do a lot more. When you get electricity in places in Ba where people don't have electricity, we connect them, maybe they can catch their fish and store their fish. They don't actually have to sell it by the roadside every day, right? So you increase the life of your fish that you catch. You get better return for your value. That's what connecting to electricity does. When you connect to mobile phones, only about 10 years ago, mobile phones were only with the people who were rich. It used to cost 99 cents a unit to make a call on a mobile phone. Today, it's about, peak period is only about 22 cents. You can text messages for 5 cents. Before it used to be 50 cents. You get 7 up, 5 up, 10 up, whatever it is that they do. Everybody waits for it now. That reduces the cost of business. If I'm a fisherman, I can phone up and say, what's the price I'm going to get for the sanga in Lotoka as opposed to what I'm going to get in Nandi. So these are the kind of things that we're also doing so people can get connected. So it improves the quality of their lives. Now you're saying to build another cement factory. We can't do that just because we have a cyclone. Yes, there will be a shortage. These are the things we have to face, unfortunately. You can't build one entire cement factory. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. But we can create the investment environment for it. Yep. Gentleman here.
The Honourable Minister, the members present here, say thank you very much for you and your team to be present here today. I am going to speak to you about the sugar industry today. Firstly, I would like to thank the government for whatever they have been doing for the sugar industry, for the survival of the sugar industry. And I would like to speak about the money we receive from sugar, or the farmers are paid for. Today, or by Tuesday, we are going to receive $9 payment for the sugar. And that will come to $61.64. And at the end of the year, we anticipate that another $12 will be paid in May somewhere, or $15. And then at the end, we'll be getting about $2 to $3. And that will come up to, say, something about $78. The expenses in sugar industry is very high. If you are a farmer, and if we manually do the harvesting, today the laborers want what the mechanical is being given, that is $32 a ton. And the cost of farming is close to $40 per ton. And that goes up to $72 or $78. What we receive at the end is about $4 per ton. In a year, if a farmer is harvesting 300 tons of cane, he receives about $1,200 per year. Therefore, there is a request on behalf of the farmers of my area, that is Baroko sector. We had a meeting yesterday to buy a harvester and get a cooperative done, because we came to know about this incentive that is coming by the government. And today we are very short of laborers here in Ba because of this cyclone. The laborers, those who did not know how to handle a hammer, are all in the construction work. And therefore, it's hard for us to do farming even. We have to hire laborers at $25 a day. And then they are talking about that we should be paid like what other laborers are paid, $4 per hour. But they do not work that hours in the farm. If you talk about farmers, laborers working in a farm, there is about 6 hours per day. And what they receive is about $20 or $18 or $15, it depends. And then the expenses for the farmers is quite high, especially we're looking at the fertilizer, then at all the agricultural, the weed killers and other things we use is very high. Cost of that is very high. So I would like to request the government to look into it, and at least a farmer to be paid at least $100 per ton for the sugar yields they have in the farm, and then only the farmers will be able to survive. Thank you very much.
His Chief Operating Officer and also the Ministry of Sugar will be coming up with a number of initiatives in the next few months to be able to ensure that the cost for the farmers are defrayed, it comes down, and we want to create the greater efficiency. I think the other issue, of course, is the yields per acre. Some of the ratoons that are being used in some areas like 15, 20 years old. Even in places like India, that's completely unheard of. They use tissue culture for germination. So there's a lot of new things that are being thought of to be used, because we need to also just ensure it's not just a question of addressing one issue. It's a whole chain value we need to address. How we plant, what do we use to plant? Do we use 20-year rotunda or 15-year rotunda? Do we use new ones? And where can we get them from? How do we do the germination of new ones? Do we use tissue culture or not? Then, of course, there's a methodology, there's a method of planting. What machinery the gentleman talked about, the machinery, completely agree that we need to introduce new technology. Some of them can be quite basic, and even the basic ones aren't being done. A lot of farmers actually manually do it now. So those are the kind of things we need to look at the entire the chain of it, and you'll be hearing some new initiatives based on that. You also have to understand that you have to look at the world market price for sugar. That's one of the issues that, of course, FSC needs to deal with, and in respect of stabilization of funds for farmers, having some kind of stabilization fund. And again, we're having those kind of discussions surrounding that.
Honorable Minister, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to be presenting our part as our contribution towards the next budget. I'm here to represent the manufacturing sector.
You need to put the mic up close to your mouth.
Okay, I'm here to represent the manufacturing sector. Just with regards to the cost of the finished good that actually is being received into our country, especially in regards to plastics, polystyrene equipment, especially in regards to plastics and polystyrene finished goods that are imported from overseas countries like China, Indonesia, Malaysia. And having said that, the manufacturing firm, we actually import the raw materials and then we produce the products locally. So what actually happens is the raw materials is commodity based, and the cost of manufacturing is higher than what the cost of finished goods in terms of importing them are. So we just like to emphasize on that point and request the government. There is, and with respect to that, we also get rebates for manufacturing them locally when we import raw materials.
But you do get a rebate.
Yes, we do.
So you're not paying any duty on it overall?
For some, yes, we don't.
Yeah.
But for some, we do.
Like what? Which ones?
Like for plastics, if you're manufacturing plastic that goes for packaging purposes, there's no duty on it that we import. And at the same time, if somebody is importing a finished good for packaging purposes, they do not pay duty on it as well.
I'm trying to understand what you're telling me.
Suppose
Give me a live example. I've got the FERCA guys here too, they can clarify.
Suppose I'm doing up some sort of a packaging, like for instance, we are doing packaging purposes for buckets, for basins and stuff, right? And we import raw materials to make those products. And we do not pay duty on the raw materials that we bring in. But likewise, if somebody is importing it as a finished product, they do not pay duty on that as well.
They do pay.
But having said that, maybe they do, but the cost of manufacturing, when we manufacture it, is higher than the cost of what they can get it.
Yeah, because they have a high volume.
Exactly, I do understand, sir.
So we can't for example, keep on charging them 200% duty just to make your product cheaper than theirs.
That's true, sir. And all I'm trying to say here is we are spending, we've invested on this, all the equipment, and we are providing jobs for people as well. So all we're trying and requesting the government is to save a little for the manufacturing sector so that we are able to survive as well.
Look, at the end of the day, any business needs to do its business case. Right. Now, we charge 32% duty maximum on all finished products. We also have some excise duty on some of the other products to give also protection to the local industries. But as a general world customs, adherence to world customs standards and WTO standards, we don't charge anything more than 32% tariff. We do have excise duty on top of that. It can go as high as 10, right? Excise duty. So people end up paying 42% plus the VAT. So if I'm importing, say, finished bucket, for example, right? So if you're making buckets, if somebody is importing finished buckets from China or Indonesia, wherever it is, when it comes to the border, they pay 32% plus 10% excise, and then they pay VAT. And then they land it. And then they sell it. They charge their margin. You, on the other hand, don't pay that. Right? Even your raw materials, you don't pay anything on that. So if your cost is still higher than theirs, we cannot intervene in the market. A lot of people who do have that, they also look for export opportunities too. They export to other Pacific Island countries and, look at other markets. We have given, of course, some industries do get a lot of protection. Let me also tell you an example to everybody. Maybe you can sit down and I'll give you an example. A few years ago, if you imported rice you cook to eat, polished rice was 32% duty. And all the consumers paid the 32% duty. But there were one or two companies in Fiji, who were given protection. So what they did, they used to bring in half polished rice, what they call half polished, a little bit of skin on top. And they paid only 5% duty. So then they polished it, they put it through the machine, the brown stuff came out and you got the white rice. But the price at which they sold their rice was nearly the same price as the person who was importing it at 32%. So they were making a killing. But who was suffering at the end of the day? It was the ordinary people who buy the rice. So when the world commodity price of rice went up in 2008, we made rice duty-free for everybody. This is why now today in Fiji, whilst the duty may have gone up to I think 5% or something, this is why till today in Fiji, there are so many people who are importing rice. And the price of rice actually has come down in Fiji because of the fact that we opened up the market and because we took away the protection that was given to only one or two companies. And they argued on the basis that we're creating jobs. They weren't actually. It takes only two people to run that machine, to put the rice through and clean it out. But the ordinary consumers were suffering. And let me also tell you, there are many products that come into Fiji where we have completely reduced the duty or don't charge any duty at all. And the reason why we do that is so the consumers don't have to pay a higher margin. But what we find is the shopkeepers and some of the supermarkets, when they bring it in, and even though they don't pay the duty anymore, they still don't reduce the price. They either increase it or keep it at the same price and they take the bigger margin. That's a reality. Even things like motor vehicles. When we reduce the duty on hybrid vehicles, if you see the price at which they land the vehicles, $12,000, $14,000, but they sell it to you for $30,000. They sell it to you for $25,000. They make a huge margin. And that's the problem with most businesses in Fiji. They believe in making a kill on each sale. They're not focused on high volume, low margin, high volume. That's what we want. We want high volume sales, lower margin, you can sell more. In the same way, the example that I use, I went to this is going back in 2008-9. I went to a store in Nandi. There's a Bulla shirt that was advertised. There's a Bulla shirt up on the wall. I really like the Bulla shirt. The price on that was $65. I said to the shopkeeper, I said, how much? He said, $20 for you. $20 for you. Then another Fijian came, another local person came, and they said, how much? They said, $25. So he's giving me $20 because I'm a minister. Give to the ordinary guy because $25. And I said to him, I said, you're still making a profit. By selling it $25, you're still making a profit. So why do you want to sell it at $65 to the tourist? You should sell it to him for $25 also. Because the tourist will come in and say, okay, $25, not bad. Please give me 3. Please give me 4 pieces. That's what will happen. I mean, that's what I do when I go overseas. If I see something cheap, I start thinking about all my relatives. You can buy it for them, buy one each for them. So you see, today, and we've been really pushing that. If you walk down 90 town today, there's no distinction in the price. You can walk in the Bulla shirt, the fake polo t-shirt, $19 for everybody. $20 for everybody, $25 for everybody. So, and if you talk to them, they will tell you that the sales have gone up over the years. Why? Because the price is a lot more realistic. There's no price discrimination. So there are a lot of things in Fiji, a lot of businesses in Fiji, that if they are focused on selling more stuff, higher volume but lower margin. You know, like the other day I went, there's pink salmon. I like pink salmon. But I saw the price was like $9. I did a bit of research, they landed for $2. If they sold it for $3.50 or $3, I would probably buy 3 tins. Everybody will buy it. Pink salmon is nice. But if it's $8 or $9, I'll think twice about it. And maybe I'll buy 1 tin a month. You see, so it's not the business people, they not all of them, a lot of them, they don't see that. The business, way of dealing with business needs to change in Fiji. We need to work at a much lower margin but higher volume. Any other input?
I would like to thank the government for all the work they have done so far. But talking about the electricity and water issue, the government has given subsidy of 90,000 liters per year to people earning less than 30,000, and also water tanks. But I would like to suggest another better option would be to subsidize boreholes in the Western Division that would provide water for all the farmers, for all the agricultural farmers who have left farming, people who have left farming. They would get water free, which would help them revive their dormant lands. That's all.
How do you think that we should, when you say subsidize, what do you mean?
Subsidize as in to provide the companies with assistance in doing boreholes to the people who need it, to drilling.
See, not all boreholes cost the same price.
Yes, they do.
It depends on the soil, how much rock, whatever,
Yes.
wherever it is. So each borehole can vary in cost.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm just trying to think of practical, it's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
And you know, the Ministry of Land and Mineral Resources, we actually bought, last year's budget, we bought new machines to do the boreholing. So, Ministry of Land and Mineral Resources actually does the boreholing themselves too. But of course, there's a higher demand. If there are more private companies available, I'm just trying to think practically how does it work.
Yes, I'm working for a drilling company, and the company's name is Jinathan Drilling. We have vast records of places we have drilled. We know the rates and we know the places where water is available. So those places where water is available while drilling, that those places have a certain rate which we can give prior to, before drilling.
So do you think government should pay for the entire borehole?
They could, or they could offer 1/3 or half option for the farmers as the government's budget suggests. For bar area, it's about ranging from 6,000 to 5,500, including pumps, hose, wiring, casing, slotted, everything included. Yeah. Okay.
Gentleman there. Do you give the mic to...
Thank you, Mr. Minister, for allowing me to speak to the public. I would like to suggest two things. First is, since the cost of living is very high in Fiji from last 40 years, and since the social pension scheme people getting $50 a month, that is not enough. I would like to request if it is to be increased to at least $500 so that it is enough for them for their living. And those civil servants who have worked for 40 to 50 years have very less pension, and that pension should be increased by another 10 to 15%, sir. That is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just for the public to know that we've increased the pensions for civil servants by up to 40% in the past few years, as you would know. If you're a recipient of pensions, we've increased by 40%, yes, 20% and then 20% in the past 3 years. We've increased it by 40%. Sorry? No, it is a fact. I provide for it in the budget. No, in the past 4 years, we've increased it by 40%. Yeah, it's increased by 40%, which is quite significant. The other issue, of course, is the pension, the $50 that we give. We started off by giving $50 to people above the age of 70, people who had no pension to rely on. And then we reduced it to the age of 68, and then now it's to the age of 66. It started off by $30, and now it's gone up to $50. To be realistic, there's no way we can increase it to $500. It's too much. In fact, a lot of people don't even earn that much. But the fact of the matter is we do recognize the fact that there are some demands on people. Some of the suggestions, for example, people that are made to us, people who receive food vouchers. What they're saying is that it should not only be, at the moment you can only buy it from MHs. They're saying it should not be restricted only to MHs, and they should be allowed to buy whatever they want. At the moment with the food voucher program, you can't buy sugar or salt because there are a lot of people suffering from diabetes and high blood pressure, so minimizing that. The other issue is that some people have said that don't give us food voucher, give us cash. Now, one of the reasons why we came up with the food voucher was a lot of people also complained to us or said to us, made representations. They said, if you give cash, they might spend a lot of that money buying the $100 kilo kava or cigarette, or alcohol. Some people do that. So families complain about that actually, because the husband goes and collects the cash. By the time he comes home, half of it is gone. So when you have a food voucher, he's not really interested, he gives the food voucher to the family. So that's, these are the things we have to weigh. And again, there are obviously certain things where the cost of living, in fact, has come down in certain areas. In certain areas, of course, it has gone up. For whatever, reasons, global reasons. But that's something that we, of course, can consider in terms of what you've suggested. Thank you. I can see some biscuits in the background. So please hang around. There's some tea and coffee, kindly provided by the Bar Town Council, I think. Thank you, Bar Town Council. And we have some biscuits there, but thank you for coming and taking time out from your Saturday afternoon to be here. Just to let you know what's going to happen now is that in the next month or so, we're still going to have these consultations. Next weekend, we are doing, on Saturday is Suva and Nasori. The following weekend is Nandi and Singatoka. Then we go off to Ba, Tavua, Rakiraki, Savusavu, Lambasa. But in between all of that, we're also going to all the different towns, getting all the school students together. And that's in every single town. So normally it's Form 7 students. I heard some politicians making noises saying, why are we consulting the students? These students, 69.4% of the entire population of Fiji is below the age of 40. So obviously a lot of these people are the ones who are below the age of 40. And we don't believe that we should treat our young people like, they should be kept to the side. These people are the future. In a few years' time, if they're 17 or 18 now, they'll be contributing members to our society. And they need to be able to have a say in that. And also, it is one way of educating them about the budget, so they know exactly what is happening. So we're doing the schools too. In between all of that, the permanent secretary will meet the permanent secretaries of all the other ministries and different agencies. So, the police will come and give their submissions, agriculture, lands, whoever it is. They come and make the submissions. She goes through the figures, discusses with them, cut some of it off or put some of it in, whatever the case may be. And then we meet again with the ministry, and this time with the ministers and myself with the PS, we'll meet up with them again to finalize the budget. We're also meeting the members of the private sector, and then we deliver the budget. As you know that, you see us in television, we stand up, we speak for 2 or 3 hours and deliver the budget. When we deliver the budget, anything to do with tariff increase or duty increase or decrease comes into effect the midnight from the time that I announce it. So if I make the announcement on Thursday night, by past midnight on Friday morning, it comes into effect the tariff. By law, once the budget is announced, we have to give 1 week for all the other members of parliament to digest it, and then we get back to parliament and start debating the budget, and then we pass the budget. And our financial year now, as you know from last year, our financial year is now from 1 August 2017 to 31 July 2018. That's our financial year. So that's how it's done, ladies and gentlemen. And we thank you for your contribution and your time here. And we look forward to, if you have any other submissions you want to make, as you advertise in the papers, you can send in your written submissions. If you want to fine-tune your submissions, please do that. You can email it, you can post it, you can deliver it. So everybody gets to have a say in it. So, Vinagavakalevu, and I wish you a good afternoon. Thank you.